Hello and welcome to this special edition of Central Intelligence. I'm Chase Eckley.
And I'm Sabrina Allis. This week we take a look at the controversies surrounding the use of vaccines. We also learn more about a local business that offers opportunities for those with special needs.
Stay tuned for these stories and more because this is CI. The controversy of vaccinating against diseases is growing across the United States.
Sharon Lee and Justin Diaz explore the harms and benefits of vaccines.
Over Christmas break, I went to the doctor with my little sister. She was just having like a normal checkup and then was gonna get a flu shot. And her doctor ended up saying like he didn't recommend her getting the flu shot.
The Center for Disease Control has labeled the 2014-2015 flu season an epidemic. In just the Greene County area alone, there have been over 1,800 cases as of January 24th, surpassing the previous high of just over 1,400.
I noticed a lot less people walking through the hallway, so it was very apparent that there were many students missing from the school during the beginning of flu season.
Nationally, when you look at that, it's due to a drift or a slight mutation in the flu virus. Normally what we see is H3N2 or H1N1 for your influenza A viruses. This year that H3N2 just mutated just enough so that the vaccine really wasn't effective.
Springfield Public Schools implements a mandatory immunization policy. The vaccines required for school attendance include polio, measles, mumps, and hepatitis B. However, for some Central students and parents, this policy is a point of controversy.
Getting vaccines shouldn't be controversial. It should be a basic preventative measure to keep you from getting sick.
From a public health standpoint, I will always stand behind vaccinations, just not only because it protects me personally, protects my family, but because it's the right thing to do for the community as well.
I can see why people don't think it should be mandatory, and maybe it shouldn't be, because some people do stay healthy and don't get sick. It's just that one extra step.
I could kind of see how people would be against vaccinations because it seems like a scary concept to inject chemicals into your body, but those chemicals are really helpful in keeping your immune system up, and it helps produce antibodies, and those are all actually good for your system.
I don't really see why people wouldn't get vaccinated. There have been claims that vaccines cause illnesses or diseases like autism, but the CDC has also proven that none of those claims are true.
I can't give you the ideas behind the anti-vaccination movement, but what I can tell you is that we've got safe vaccines that have been used for years and years.
For more information, contact your family physician or visit www.cdc.gov/vaccines. Signing off for Central Intelligence, this has been Sharon Lee and Justin Diaz.
A nonprofit organization in Springfield provides employment and a creative outlet for those with special needs.
Rachel Hake and Tristan Brooks tell about the numerous benefits of Art Inspired.
Art Inspired is a nonprofit organization downtown that provides employment opportunities as well as an earth-friendly environment for individuals with special needs to satisfy their creative abilities.
We are a almost 3-year-old nonprofit that was created to provide employment for adults with special needs.
Art Inspired is not limited to just helping adults. They offer a similar experience for special education students from Central. Meet Alyssa, a Central student who has regularly been going to Art Inspired for over a year now.
It's like paper's shredded over at the shredder, taken downstairs, and put in big cement mixers.
Oh.
And then it's molded into this, and it's molded into shape.
Do you think Art Inspired has given you a better outlook at school and life?
Now I know what kind of job I should take up after I finish school.
What job is that?
This job.
Being a part of Art Inspired has had a significant impact on those involved.
The work environment is a great motivator for them to do good work at school and to do good work here. It's also a precursor for them to be successful in the work environment, whether it's competitive employment, workshop, or maybe a work crew when they graduate, versus them not having any kind of employment when they do graduate. So we're looking at post-high school activities for them.
I am a peer tutor for the special ed class, and they're always really excited, and they're asking a bunch of times when they're going and whose turn it is. They get to go and make stuff and organize clothes and do a lot of practical work that not only you would use on a job, but at home even. They just really like it, and it's really cool to see.
Encouraging you to get involved. This has been Rachel Hake and Tristan Brooks.
Very good. Looking very, very good.
Sexual assault numbers at college campuses across the nation are on the rise. Sabrina Ollis and Jake Williams find the possible solution to this growing problem.
The phenomenon is not new, but the emphasis in the country is very recent.
Due to the rising numbers of sexual assault on campuses across the nation, the public is starting to take notice.
One of the things we know about at least American universities is that 20 to 25% of college-age women experience some form of sexual contact without their consent.
If you're going with a lot of people that you don't know that well to a place that you're not that familiar with, that's probably not really smart. And then if you add on top of that sometimes like underage drinking on a college campus, I mean, there goes your sense of judgment.
Because of the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act, colleges are having to change their prevention methods on sexual assault.
Part of the act said you must make available to new students educational information about sexual violence, what is consent, partner relationship violence, and bystander intervention.
I think it's an effective method because not only is it making people more aware of the problem so they can help to prevent it, but it's also going to help people to be more safe with their actions.
Even educating them before they get there so they kind of know how to stay safe, stay out of dangerous situations, make good judgments.
Although law requires colleges to have information available for students, high schools, including Central, often don't do the same.
High schools also have a responsibility to be providing training about reporting options, about safe options, and about obligations of employees are to do if they know about something.
I think high schools should be very active in addressing consent and in attacking some of the misconceptions and false assumptions that are in our society.
If counselors were to do things such as tell warning signs or different preventative measures, then that would really help kids going into college.
It's not just about individual behavior, it's also about what kind of norms we operate in.
People have to take the knowledge that they're given and actually do something different. They have to change their behaviors.
Signing off for Central Intelligence, this has been Sabrina Ollis and Jake Williams reporting. With over 100 different countries represented at Central, diversity is important but does not exist in every program. Aviva Okeson-Haberman and Amy Demir investigate the diversity within IB.
Central often touts the diversity we have at our school. Teachers and students typically point to the IB program as evidence of the school's celebration of diversity. However, the investigation by CI has cast doubt on this commonly held belief. While 12% of Central's overall student population is African American, only 6.3% of IB juniors and seniors are African American. In fact, there are only 17 African American students out of the 268 IB students. African Americans are not the only minority population underrepresented in IB. There are only 10 Hispanic juniors and seniors taking IB classes. When looking at socioeconomic diversity, the gap between Central's overall population and IB students widens. 54% of Central students are on free or reduced lunch, while only 21% of IB juniors and seniors are economically disadvantaged.
The IB diploma program is an academically rigorous choice pathway. That connection between especially socioeconomic background and preparedness for advanced coursework, I think there's a gap in that.
I think our middle school is lacking when they don't prepare those students to possibly be involved in that program. By the time they get to high school, it's too late.
The impact that the gap has on the IB program is just that we don't have as many students taking advantage of the full diploma as we could and as we would like to have.
You lose a level of culture that you might find from having more diversity.
Lack of diversity and discrimination can unfortunately go hand in hand. Through surveying 78 teachers here at Central, we found that 46% of teachers reported witnessing discrimination against a student or teacher.
In terms of race, I think there is some preconceived notions held by some faculty members. But for the most part, this place is better than most.
I have seen acts of discrimination at Central. One example that I could cite that I've seen many times in my years here is that a black student will be stopped in the hall without a pass, where white students have just passed on through the halls without anybody questioning them.
How do you weed out discrimination, favoritism, stereotypes? It starts with building awareness and educating others.
Everybody treats somebody a special way because of preconceived notion. I think that happens all the time. I've certainly discriminated against students and people. I'm still struggling with what to do with my knowledge that I subconsciously discriminate against people.
Everybody has stereotypes and biases. The point is to recognize them and go forward from there. And until we can do that, our community is going to remain stuck. We have to overcome those hurdles, and then we'll be more accepting and appear more welcoming to other people.
We realize that a CI story will not begin to end the vastly complex issue of discrimination. However, we encourage everybody here at Central and elsewhere to start a conversation about how we, both as individuals and in our community, can work to stop discrimination.
Wrestling has begun to push some participants to take extreme measures to achieve success.
Sarah Arney and Bailey Donnellen discover the toll this sport takes on the health of wrestlers at Central.
Contrary to popular belief, wrestling can be just as mentally exhausting as it is physically. Some think that cutting weight at a high school level is unnecessary and can have negative academic and health effects.
In cutting weight, you either eat less or you dehydrate yourself, or you can do both. I started cutting weight freshman year mostly because I wanted to be in a lower weight class because the competition there was just a little bit easier, and I cut weight about every single week during wrestling season.
I have really mixed feelings. As a high school athlete myself and as a coach, I see where these guys are taking one for the team. You know, they're doing whatever they can to try to benefit their team and help their team out, so I can really appreciate that. From the teacher perspective, I think it's kind of the other end. I feel like they're not performing as well in my class because of it. So I don't know, it's kind of a toss-up for me.
I feel like cutting weight can affect your school performance, but it's mostly the day of the match, mostly because of headaches because of dehydration or loss of energy because of food.
I've known some wrestlers who have cut weight in not a very good way, you know, unhealthy wise, wearing things like trash bags and spitting in cups a lot, and things like that drew a lot of negative attention to our sport. Things have changed a lot, you know, since when I wrestled in the 90s and before that. Wrestling has gotten way more scientific and safe, and I really enjoy that as a coach.
We as assessors, we do a skin fold, have them do a hydration test, and they get an alpha weight and a skin fold done. And then based on that, it'll allow them to drop about 2% over the span of a season. So it'll allow them to cut weight, but it's already preset by MSHA. A lot of times where we have issues is that kids know how to cheat the system. So the system's in place to protect them from losing too much weight and having major medical issues. But as it goes on, there's kids that wrestle year in, year out, and they know how to skirt around the system by being down at weight by the time they do their initial assessment, and then as the season goes on, they can drop further.
Again, I know that it's not just essential, it's something that goes on across the country for wrestling teams. But another thing to consider, I feel like, is that some of these boys are still 14, 15, 16-year-old that are growing, and so, you know, that also is sort of worrisome as far as, is it going to stunt their growth or do something like that?
If you're going to be wrestling and you think you can't do it because you have to cut weight, it's mostly a personal decision. It's a decision you make to yourself to be a guarantee to the team. I made the decision to drop the weight so that I would have a better chance at going to state.
Signing off, this has been Bailey Donnellan and Sarah Arney reporting.
Thank you for watching this week's special edition of Central Intelligence.
Be sure to check out other stories on SchoolTube. You can also like us on Facebook, tweet us, or follow us on Instagram at CHSCI.
We'll see you again next year.